So he and they won. So it's legitimate in that sense. But he should never have been on the ballot. He should have been, um, convicted of more crimes, sentenced in prison. That might have been some nice pretty fiasco for them. The chaos show, the soap opera, etc. But to the extent that people literally intentionally voted for him, more of them, and so it's a clean thing, they're great. Yes, they were up against a 10-year propaganda psyops shitstorm of an attack on their capacity to perceive correctly and understand what's going on in the world. Obvious disinformation, obvious lies, mass, hypnosis kind of stuff, that did become a cult. And the cult now, it includes more than half of the nation. That's just kind of what that showed us. And that's real. And they do have the right to vote their conscience, even if it is been manipulated in a way that we've never seen before in America. We've never seen half of a nation of this size manipulated like that. We've seen that happen in Germany and Italy, 90 years ago. And so it's an impressive feat. So if that many people can be manipulated into going against their wishes, going against their, what they probably know is right. But part of me was thinking, hey, some of these people are willing participants. Some of these people didn't have to be manipulated into this. Some of these people believe this stuff from the start. You can't brainwash the willing, I guess would be the phrase here. But if you dial the lens back further, time-wise and distance-wise, you would say, well, wait a second here. It's not like Trump in 2015 was the first person to start manipulating people into thinking these things. Don't forget Rush and Hannity and Fox News from the 90s, absolutely lying. And dial back further and look at Rupert Murdoch's other papers and stuff, where he had to have one of his newspapers absolutely closed down because of, I don't remember exactly what they were doing with that girl who ended up dying, but like texting her, and like they shut down the Daily Mail or whatever. I think it was the Daily Mail, because it was so egregious and so disgusting. So you've had these nefarious forces in America earlier, and that's the 90s, I'd say 94, Fox News began manipulating and being like setting the groundwork for Trump and Trumpism. But then you go back to Reagan and how he was kind of like a proto-Trump, and go further back to Nixon and look at how these people manipulated Congress, manipulated our perception of what was true, and how they enacted policies that were absolutely destructive that you only find out about later, starting with Nixon. This kind of anti-government sentiment, and even a little earlier, with some stuff that happened with Eisenhower, which is kind of like anti-big city, and the interstate highway system, which was well-intended and useful in lots of ways, kind of cut through the cities. So there's always been an ugliness and a misunderstanding of things that has been manipulating people into thinking things that were treacherous. And so Trumpism precedes Trump, is my argument. So of course, so the people that are 75 years old now, 80 years old now, are literally voting for the party and the person and the movement that will take away their Social Security and Medicare that they need. They're literally voting against their actual interests. The Hispanic Americans who voted for Trump, and those that maybe just don't have citizenship yet, but have a green card, that kind of thing, they may be voting for their own deportation. Now, the deportation thing may never happen because it's such a colossal gigantic government program where you could just go root out Tren de Agua. That wouldn't be too hard. You go into that city with a SWAT team and round up all the guys and just take them out. Like, come on. You don't have to do mass deportation to do anti-gang activity. Cities do it all the time. And even though, of course, we don't want South American cartels in our nation, in our cities, of course we don't. But it's not the impetus for Trump and Trumpism and the actual mess that they're going to cause and the calamities and the chaos. So we must recognize that these people that have been worked on for 10 years by Trump and Trumpism have been worked on for 30 years via Fox News, almost 50 years via Reagan, and 60 years, 65 years or so via Nixon. And before that, we're kind of getting out of my depth, and that's no problem. So this has been going on a long time, and this storm has been brewing a long time. And again, you can go back way further and say that Trumpism is the neo-Confederacy, that this all happened because Obama, a black man, became president. And the Confederacy happened, the Civil War happened because they preempted black people being freed from enslavement. So our nation was built on these fault lines. And these fault lines keep shaking and quaking our foundation. So you go and you undo a terrible institution, the worst, most disgusting institution. Slavery, owning a person, owning a group of people, creating an endless caste system where these people are not free, these people are owned, these people are laborers, their children are going to be laborers. Let's split up their families when we get them off the ships where half of them die. One side of our nation was so disgusted by the potential for Lincoln and abolitionists to end the owning of people that they started a war about it and killed 600,000 humans in order to try and save the institution that allowed people to own other people, that allowed big business and big farmers and plantations and etc. to own humans. That's what they were so mad about. So this has been a sick and twisted history. We think we're modern. We're not modern. So this is a neo-Confederacy. This is more of the same. And so, of course, Southern whites, poor Southern whites who had way more in common with their poor Southern black brothers and sisters, fought against their interest in the Civil War. So one side of this nation has been trying to make sure that minorities and people can cash that promissory note and expand freedom and expand liberty and expand the protections of and the promises of this nation. And one side has been clawing and fighting and doing whatever it can to stop that thing. And that's what we're dealing with. It's the inevitability of the backlash to the expansion of rights and freedoms and protections to people that don't look like me. And especially people that don't sound like me. Oh, they speak this other language. Oh my gosh. Aliens, illegals, trans people that have sex in a way that's not like me, people that love someone of the same sex, people that make changes to their bodies, people who don't perceive sex and sexuality the same way I do. So one side's trying to say, hey, let's expand this tent, let's expand this bubble of protection, because that bubble of protection isn't America or something that we bestow upon people. These are natural rights according to our founding fathers. Hypocrites though they were correct that this was natural. And so we're just saying, all we're doing is expanding this and protecting these people that naturally have this right anyway. We're not giving them something they don't have. But those that wanted to fight that and do want to fight that are saying, oh, no, you don't. It's really for us. We're the Americans, the Christians, the white people. And they get people that don't look like me to join them, and it's absolutely maddening and perplexing. But they do. So this was inevitable. This push and pull, this seesaw battle wasn't going to end with Kamala Harris as president, even if Kamala Harris had become president. And I certainly wish she had. And maybe she will someday. But if they had wanted to really win there, they might have had to have answered for their mistakes, and with Gaza and Israel, their crimes, in a way that satisfied the left, the Jill Stein left, enough to vote for her. And they didn't do that. Because they tried to come to the right. Because coming to the right has always been the way Democrats have won. When Jesse Jackson would not come to the right in 1984, they got blown out. So when Bill Clinton ran and in 93 and won in 94, if I got my numbers right, maybe 92 or 93, he wasn't going to make Jesse Jackson's mistake. He was going to come to the middle and try to be all things to all people. But also that was a way more conservative time after Reagan and Bush. We really bought the all those ideas. We really thought, hey, let's crack down on crime. Let's put everybody away for 50 years. What could be the problem? Let's, more cops on the street, more 3 strikes and you're outlaws and all this stuff. And, and all these things that were conservative and Newt Gingrich's promise with America. Bill Clinton just co-opted them today. I did all that. But he also ran that way too. So Kamala Harris, who was already, in a pretty moderate conservative presidency, they did some surprisingly liberal stuff, and some of it, and it really worked. It was good. But these people were like lefty libs by no means, by absolutely no means. Any liberal environmental stuff they would have done would have been because they had to, or perceived they had to. So this was gonna happen. That side that wants to limit rights and limit access and control and tell you what you can do inside your body, and wants everybody to be Christian and all these things, all these fantasies of the past, the backward-looking ones, the neo-Confederacy. Let's go back to this time. This was great. They'd kind of like it to be like the antebellum South. And that was before slaves were freed. That was when women knew their place. That's when Christianity was kind of the de facto religion. Most people looked like me. And again, everybody knew their place. There's not that anxiety like, what's this? What does trans mean? Are these people gonna, play sports against my child and hurt, somebody? And, these incidents happen here or there. But what's really going on is, can we afford to live? Am I free to choose my life and my purpose? And can I make a living? Am I safe? And crime's going down, and so all the kind of mis and disinformation going on that led people to make those choices is all part of a push for a backward push. And you can say, oh, let's make America great again. Let's fix this economy. And really, that economy is a complex thing. Let's do a bunch of tariffs. That's going to crash the economy. Trump and Elon Musk have talked about crashing the economy. So the inevitability piece gives me a little bit of peace. Rest, maybe, is the word for it for now. He's not in office yet. But maybe they just have to see how bad it can get. Maybe they just have to have their eyes open to saying, oh my gosh, I'm limited by this. I suffered from this. Or my child. Oh my gosh, I've got a child who couldn't get an abortion when they had an ectopic pregnancy and died or almost died and survived but can't have kids now. Or whatever the real consequences. We sometimes wake up when we have real consequences, and I know I did in my life, and I don't want that for America. I don't want that for conservatives. I don't want people to hurt. I don't want people to have a rude awakening. I've had rude awakenings. I'm even in some rude awakenings right now. They're not pretty, but sometimes they really do make you wake up. Sometimes they do really make you see and feel when you haven't been able to feel. And look around and care for and honor and apologize and own and make restitution and grow and become and be curious again and find yourself again. Sometimes all those things do happen. And maybe that's what happens on a national scale. Like when Germany awoke from World War II and Nazism and the gas chambers and had to reckon with themselves. We did this. We allowed this. We don't really have plausible deniability. And they had to search for answers, and they had to search for choices and ways to make their nation impervious to that again. And now, what's happening? They've got these far-right candidates again. Is it inevitable that Germany gets taken over by fascism again? So these forces are strong, and I'm not saying, hey, we should just give in and let it be. I'm just saying that we should realize that sometimes when there's so much momentum that something becomes inevitable. And I don't know what's supposed to happen. I know we're supposed to fight injustice, and I will. But I think we can calmly and rationally think and breathe and plan for the months leading up to that presidency. We can hope our institutions stand. We can fight the good fight and also hope that people wake up and say, oh my gosh, this is what this is. And maybe realize that our history might be like this kind of boomerang thing. It might go like this, and maybe it seems destructive and seems wasteful, and maybe is, but maybe in some other levels we are growing and seeing and changing, and maybe we'll know how to stop a Trumpism next time. Maybe great healing will come from this. Maybe knowledge will come from this. I don't know. But for some reason, some part of me has been calm, cool, and collected ever since that election, and I don't know why. It goes against everything I believe in. And that other candidate doesn't go for everything I believe in, There are things that I obviously disagreed about. But this is wrong. This seems, of course, wrong in every way, but I just feel galvanized, and I don't know if anybody else can just say, I'm going to be calm, cool, and collected. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be there to support everyone. And I'm also going to surrender in a spiritual way about things I don't understand, while simultaneously being ready to fight and be strong and resist and help others in doing so. Hope this was helpful.